Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the April 2023 edition of the Brooklyn Community Board 2 Health, Environment, Social Services Committee. My name is Brandon Smith. I'm the chair of the committee, and I want to welcome you to tonight's meeting. So a few provisos that I got to go through before we get into the heart of the meeting. So just please make note of the following stipulations here. First of all, you should note that this meeting is being recorded for public access and archivings in accordance with New York State Open Meetings Law. The practice of Community Board 2 to conduct remote meetings with all committee member cameras on. Public attendees are also encouraged to leave your camera on, particularly if you're given the floor to speak. All attendees, please keep your microphone muted when you are not speaking. To maintain an appropriate discussion and voting process, I will make it known when and which topics are open for comment by committee members, board members at large, and the general public. If you have questions that fall outside of public comment time, please type your questions in the chat panel. We will address them as time permits. You may also email the district office at any time outside of the meetings. We're committed to providing access to our neighbors regardless of physical ability or limitation. If you require accommodation or assistance for full participation, please contact the district office 72 hours before any public meeting. We also ask that those speaking or presenting use plain language, speak at a moderate tone, and frequently ask if you're speaking loud enough. If presenting, read the title of every slide and describe any images on the slide, such as photos, graphs, and charts. Finally, it's the rule and the expectation of this committee that everybody treat each other with respect. That means whether you're a committee member, a board member, a member of the public, a liquor license applicant, a staff member, or any other human being on this Zoom call, we need to always be speaking in a respectful tone and addressing any comments to me, the chair of the meeting. If there are any issues with anybody being disrespectful, we'll reserve the right to have someone removed from the meeting. Going to proceed from here to have each of the remaining committee members introduce themselves. Ms. McKnight, would you like to go next?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm Nicole McKnight, Vice Chair of this committee and Community Board Member.
Thank you. Ms. Thurston?
Hi, I'm Jessica Thurston, Secretary of this committee and Secretary of Community Board 2.
Thanks. Ms. Anadu?
Hi, Emily Anadu, member of this fabulous committee and a member of the CB2 General Board.
Thanks. Mr. Varela?
Hi, Alejandro Varela, public member.
Thanks. Mr. Andrews?
I'd like to remember the wonderful committee and a member of the board.
Thank you so much. First up on the evening's agenda, we have an approval of tonight's agenda. Could I get an approval conditioned on the removal of agenda item 5, district level community health updates? We're not planning to cover that item this evening. Anybody want to make a motion? I'll take that as a motion from Ms. Anadu and a second from Ms. Thurston. Okay. Does anybody disapprove or abstain from the motion on approving tonight's agenda? Hearing none, we can count the agenda as approved. Next, we have the approval of the minutes from March 2023, which are circulated and attached to the agenda. Could I get a motion with respect to the minutes from March 2023? Motion from Ms. McKnight. I second the motion. Any edits or corrections, please email the secretary directly. With that said, does anybody disapprove or abstain from approving the minutes of March 2023? Hearing none, we can count the minutes approved. Next section on the agenda is open session for public comment time on adopted agenda items. I'm going to be clear as I always am about this section of the agenda. We have tonight on our calendar 6 liquor licenses, which are 117 Adams, Ippudo, New York, 690 Fulton, Slutty Vegan, 47 Hall, Edward Dean, 229 Livingston, Jennifer Bistro, 143 Greene, Chef Katsu, 44 Pearl, Hudson Wilder, and we're going to hear from each of those liquor licenses in the next section of the agenda. Now, everybody can have 2 minutes of public comment time. I'm happy to give you the 2 minutes of public comment time now if you'd prefer, or you may find it more beneficial to wait and have your 2 minutes of public comment time after you've already heard the presentation from each of these applicants. We will promise to give you that before any vote or committee discussion is taken on each of the motion, on each of the items. So with that said, I will open the floor. And is there any public comment time on tonight's agenda items? Great. Moving forward to the next agenda items, we have each of the liquor licenses that are up for review this evening. The first one is 117 Adams, Ippudo, New York, LLC. Do we have somebody here from that location? Is that,
Yes,
sorry, who is this?
my name is Toshiya Suganuma.
And I'm Adriana Galavati from Helbron Lee Supporting, representing Ippudo NY.
Great. All right. Would you like to give us some color on your application?
Of course. Thank you all for having us here tonight. As mentioned before, my name is Adriana and I'm representing Ippudo NY. Tonight we have Toshiya with us, who is one of the owners of Ippudo. This is going to be a Japanese ramen restaurant offering delicious items going from a bunch of appetizers, from ramen to special rolls and everything like that. We will be applying for full liquor. This will be a food forward establishment. Our hours are going to be from 11 a.m. to midnight every day. There will be background music only. This area isn't very heavy with residential neighbors. Again, we have background music only. We don't expect any adverse noise problems. The applicants will also have a reservation system, which will be a mobile app. So we don't anticipate any long wait lines outside. So we won't be interrupting any pedestrians that are walking by or anyone that does live in the neighborhood. The establishment will have 32 tables, 82 seats with one bar. That bar will have 13 seats. And we will also offer non-alcoholic beverages such as mocktails as well. So there's something for everyone. There are vegetarian options. This is a beloved concept throughout New York City. The applicant has other locations in the West Side, the East Village, on Fifth Ave, even Long Island City and the Bronx. And we're really excited to be a part of the Brooklyn community in Dumbo. Back in April of 2022, there was an applicant that came before you guys, Hungry Angelina LLC. They were a restaurant seeking a full liquor license as well. They were approved by you guys. Unfortunately, they ended up not moving forward. And this is a space that we are looking to take over. Toshiya is currently licensed by the New York State Liquor Authority and has proven to be an amazing operator. And we would like to turn it back over to you if you guys have any questions or would like any further explanation on anything.
Sure. So we'll open it up to the committee and the public, but just a couple basic questions. When do you plan to open, and do you plan to hire your 12 to 15 employees from the local community?
So Toshiya, I'll let you answer the hiring.
Yeah, we are planning to open late summer, probably like end of August or September. And at that point, well, we're gonna bring, let's see, like managers and main chefs from our other restaurants. But other than that, the servers, other positions are available, and we are looking forward to hire from our local residents.
Okay. Well, it has no bearing on your application. We typically will recommend folks contact Ingersoll Community Center, Brooklyn Navy Yard, or Fort Greene Snap as key locations to go to find available workers. We have pockets of poverty and unemployment in our community, and we'd love to have people who are local in roles like this.
Absolutely.
Understood. Yeah.
Questions from members of the committee?
Brandon, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Alejandro.
I just wanted, thanks, Brendan, for that. I just wanted to add that because of the proximity to Farragut Housing, and I believe they still have an employment center there, they might also want to reach out to them.
Thank you guys for the resources.
Other questions from the committee?
Just a quick point of clarification. We have up here on the screen the hours, but I believe in your presentation, Ms. Golovati, I hope I'm sort of pronouncing your name correctly.
Yes.
To 11 every day, but this actually says 11 to 12 all days but Sunday. So do you mind just clarifying which is the plan?
Sure. So it would be, I'm sorry for the typo there. It will be 12 midnight every day. The applicants may close earlier than that, but we would like to have the flexibility to have midnight across the board.
Well, you actually have 11 on Sunday, so it's not consistent.
Toshia, I'm sorry, everyone. Can you please confirm if you would like to have 11 p.m. closing, or if you would like to amend the Sunday closing to midnight?
No, 11 is fine. Yeah, because usually Sundays, I don't really expect that much crowd in there anyway.
Okay, so this is otherwise accurate, what we have up on the screen.
Correct. Thank you, Jessica. Sorry about that.
All right. Any other questions from committee members, board members, or members of the public for 117 Adams Street, Ippudo NY? Is that the name that you're going with as the DBA?
It's just the Ippudo.
Ippudo, okay.
Yep.
Got it. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair?
Oh, Mr. Andrews, go ahead.
Wondering if it's accessible to get in, and do they have an accessible bathroom? Those are my two questions.
Yeah, so the question is about wheelchair accessibility for getting in the front entrance as well as the bathroom at the location.
Yes, the front of the entrance, we have a lift, and the bathroom is accessible for the wheelchair.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions for 117 Adams? Noted from the board office, the location is inside the Etsy building. There are no residential neighbors, and there's no records of complaint at the operator's other local licensed addresses. With that, does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Oh, second from Mr. Varela. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Ms. Thurston, how do you vote?
In favor.
Mr. Varela?
In favor.
Mr. Andrews?
In favor.
Ms. McKnight?
In favor.
Ms. Nadu?
In favor.
Ms. Cobb, welcome.
In favor.
Mr. Andrews?
You got him already. He voted.
I did. Thank you. Okay, I vote in favor also. All right, that should be everybody. Congratulations and good luck with your establishment.
Thank you so much,
everyone.
I'm looking forward to join the community. Appreciate it.
All right. Next item on the agenda is 690 Fulton, Slutty Vegan. Do we have somebody here from that location?
You've got Mike Palutis on behalf of the applicant. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So I'm here on behalf of Slutty Vegan Inc. I'm joined by Angel Barnwell. Can we make sure that she's visible and audible?
Good evening, everyone. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So Angel is our client's Director of Business Engagement. This is an application for a bar tavern license. As Mr. Smith pointed out, it's 690 Fulton Street. This was a space previously operated by the Broccoli Bar. Our client is a vegan burger joint based out of Atlanta, Georgia, but quickly growing into other states, including New York. The applicant has been open and operating in this location since September of last year. It is, although it's being filed as a bar tavern, it is it's keeping restaurant hours and will open at 12 o'clock Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and will close no later than 9 p.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and 10 p.m. Friday and Saturday. This is a tiny establishment with an interior retail area of less than 300 square feet. The location will include 2 tables with 4 seats. There'll be no live music, no security. And with that, we're here and happy to answer any questions you folks might have.
Thanks. Just a couple clarifications off the bat. You stated that there would be no live music, but it's checked off that there's a live DJ on the application. Is that correct? And what if so, what's the concept there?
Sure. So there, the method of operation on the liquor license distinguishes between live music and a DJ. The applicant would like to have the ability occasionally to have a DJ, and so that's why that box was checked.
Okay. That was one clarification. The other clarification I wanted to have is that there is a discussion of outdoor seating and hours that pertain to it, and then when it comes to the actual seats, it says that there won't be any seats outdoors. So is there any clarification you can give there?
So there's not room, they will apply through the open restaurants program. Although there's not room for many tables or chairs there. I could ask Angel if she knows how many tables and how many seats they would want, if she can offer that information.
Yes, we would like to have possibly 2 tables, 2 chairs outside, minimal seating. The overall concept that we have at this location and all of our other locations is for a pick up and go. However, we would like to have that option available just in case if someone wanted to have a seat outside, especially being in the community.
So that'd be 2 deuces, actually, two tops, Mr. Smith.
Okay, that makes sense. I just wanted to understand what the thought is. This is like sidewalk or?
It would be sidewalk. It would be sidewalk seating. It would not be roadbed seating, Angel. Correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Enough of me. Questions from the committee? Ms. Nadu.
Hi, thank you for your application today. So my question was actually also related to the DJ. So understanding that the location is fairly small and you're thinking about potentially having two tops outside. I guess I'm just, it feels like that's creating potentially like a party I guess what's the difference between just having music and a live DJ? Because just for me, a live DJ feels like it inherently pushes into because it's not for people inside, because there aren't people inside other than.
So there will be 2 tables with 4 seats on the interior. But to your point, I think that the idea is to have someone there curating the music as opposed to having, Spotify or Sonos kind of selecting the music. It's really more of an aesthetic. There's not space for there to be, any dancing or a party of any description. I think that the diagram bears that out, I believe. And again, I think we could stipulate to that being an occasional event, because it's not something that's intended on a regular basis.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Varela.
Hi, hi, how are you? Excuse the mask, I'm fighting a cold and trying to keep my family from getting sick. I'm curious, I happened to be walking by the day it opened. I was coming home and it was a party. Congratulations on the success of the venue. And it was quite the party. I also, correct me if I'm wrong, the street happened to be closed for that opening?
That is correct.
Is that something that you organized? If so, that seems like that would be the ideal time to have a DJ, because if you have a DJ and a popular place, I always see a line out there and it's nice out, it's going to be a party and it's going to take up sidewalk, whether you wanted to or not. And so I guess what I'm wondering is, on those occasions, will you plan to request the street close off again? Did you have anything to do with that the first time? And if you didn't, I would encourage you to try, because that would be the best way to avoid, creating that sort of situation with car traffic, which could be dangerous.
So Mr. Smith, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to direct my comments to you. I'll do that. So they did pull permits, I believe, for that block closure. I think it was in September, and it's my understanding the permits were pulled, and that if such an event would take place again, of course, those permits would be pulled again. I believe those permits go through the board office. So a street activity permit like that, I believe would come through your office before the city would approve it. So I believe you'd have notice.
Just to be clear, we may get notice of certain events, but we don't go through a formalized process of committee review, public input, except at this stage of an application.
Right. Brandon, if I may, just as a follow-up, but maybe this is more to you than the applicant. I guess I'm just saying that if the intention is that, because they said DJ, they wanted the freedom on some occasions to have DJ, if they expected that would then lead to the sort of crowd and event that happened during opening, then I would encourage the applicant to pull those permits for those events, so that that sort of thing has just a little bit more organization to it, and for safety reasons. Or is the events, I guess now the question is, or on the times when you expect to have a DJ, you're not trying to reach that same kind of degree of a party or occasion?
I see. Does that make sense as a question to the applicants?
It does. I think the answer is that in those instances where they have an expectation that there would be a crowd gathering, like what happened in September, they would pull permits.
Okay.
But I believe that there might be other occasions, again, not regularly, but other occasions where they'd want to have someone curating music, not setting up bass cabinets, right? But through the existing system inside, and have them curating the music selection. And because of the way that the State Liquor Authority defines a DJ, in order to do that, we have to include as part of the method of operation a DJ, because otherwise we're running afoul of the license stipulation. And so we, in those instances where there would be a crowd gathering outside, they will pull the permits. They will go through the city and they pull the permits and block the block off legally. But there may be other occasions in which they might want to offer a quote unquote DJ as someone who's curating the music selection inside. And I think that, for example, when the owner is in town and visiting, they might want to do that. So if she was present. Yeah.
Okay. On the days in which what? I guess I'm just curious about crowd control, because it is so popular and because there are a few seats. How do you plan to manage the long lines on the nicer days? There are lines even on cooler days, which is great for business, but I'm just curious, when there is so much overflow, I wonder what your plan is to keep the line from interfering from steady traffic. Assuming these aren't days when you closed off the street and whatever, it's just a busy day that has overflowed.
So I think Angel's the person to answer that question, because they've had this problem, or it's positive. It's good that business is good, but I think she has experience dealing with that, and I think she should speak to it. So.
Yes. So pardon me, my voice is going in and out. I too am recovering from a cold right now. So please, speedy recovery. So we manage all of our lines very, very seriously, and we are very precise in how we do that. So we use stanchions in all of our locations. So the Brooklyn location is approximately the same size as the very first restaurant that we opened in Atlanta, which is about 300 to 600 square feet. So I can say with a lot of confidence, we have a foolproof plan as to how we handle the crowd power. So anytime that there's a line, again, we pull stanchions out and make sure that we form the line and wrap the line so that it does not interfere with the street, and it also doesn't interfere possibly with other businesses. We've been able to do a very good job at that. So we have now been able to build a muscle in speed that has also assisted us with trying to keep the lines down to a minimum. Now, we've also added delivery services to the store as well. We do have a cloud kitchen, which is a satellite kitchen that also assists with the overflow in volume. So the intent is to have the walk-up option at the store, and again, being able to control the lines using the stanchions, but we've also added additional measures to help try to keep those lines down to a minimum so that people can still enjoy us even from home. You can order it from the app or from our website.
Okay. Just to get to this point, because we are trying to move the meeting along, I was wondering what kind of interactions you've had with the local community. It seems our office had received 3 local letters of concern, which are noted in the chat. And I was wondering what was the nature of any interactions you've had with neighbors, particularly the 4 upstairs neighbors, positive or negative, and to the extent that anyone has voiced concerns to you all, what have been the natures of the concern, and what has been your response to that?
So this is actually one of the first times that I am honestly hearing of complaints coming from the community. We interact with our customers very transparently. Anyone can reach out to us through any of our channels. And I've spoken to several people from the neighborhood myself, and I haven't heard of anything. So I would like to speak with them to find out what the exact complaints are as a means to try to assist with addressing them. From a lot of the overflow is like, hey, we're so happy that you're here in the community. We're happy that we can have access to you. It's been more positive. So I would seriously like to have possibly an offline conversation to help move the meeting along so that I can get what those complaints were and try to see what we can do to assist, because the goal is for us to be great neighbors in the community.
Ms. Muller, do you have details or a summary of what these 3 letters were concerned about?
Hello, Chair Smith. Actually, the discussion to this point has addressed all of the points generally in the 3 letters received. They were from verified addresses. Ms. Angel, there is no contesting that your business has been wildly successful, and we congratulate you on that. What the committee is interested in reviewing is immediately adjacent neighbors, because they are the most likely to be impacted. So the letters did come from immediate residential neighbors, excuse me.
But we don't know what they were concerned. Like, were they complaining about noise from the restaurant or?
Correct. 2 of the 3 letters specifically referenced the opening event. One moment. And all 3 of them generally expressed concern about a liquor license. And actually it appears one of them has been inside, because she specifically said that she was confused about a liquor license for an establishment that only has 4 seats.
Okay. So I guess to the applicant, I would just ask, to what extent have you spoken with the upstairs neighbors, and and what if any feedback have they given to your business, and to what is your plan if somebody brings an issue of noise to your attention?
So let me speak to this quickly, and I know you want to move on. We adjourned this from last month because the applicant was trying and continues to try to get in touch with people next door, upstairs, behind, and in adjacent buildings, and they just haven't had much success in doing that. I think I can say safely that if the board office was willing to pass along Ms. Barnwell's contact information to I know you may not want to give us the names and addresses of those 3 residents, and we appreciate that. But if you would like, I'm sure that Angel would be happy to give you her contact information so that they can contact her directly and address the concerns. I will say though that the concerns that are arising out of the opening event, I think are probably isolated to that opening event, because as Mr. Varela was pointing out, it was a rather large event, and I can imagine that it made some noise. And I think that was the point of the event. It was a kickoff event, but they've kicked off, and so it's not planned that those types of events are going to take place again in the future. That's not something that they're planning to do again. And so I think to the extent that the letters were concerned with the noise that was emanating from the kickoff event, I think we can safely say that's not going to happen again because they've kicked off.
Okay.
Angel, do you want to add to that? I'm sorry.
No, you really wrapped that up very well. The intention was to show as much love and appreciation to the neighborhood as we were kicking off the event, and so that we had that party so that we could include everyone. And now that we've done that, we are wanting to make sure that we can conduct business as business, of course, have our company personality to be what it is, but not and also for us to make sure that we're good neighbors in the process of doing that.
Okay, thanks. Now, Sanadu, do you have your hand up for a new question?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. It's, just to follow up, and I was trying to let it go earlier, but I think just going back to even the points that at least I was hearing Alejandro trying to make is that I think like you have a very the best problem a restaurant can have in terms of you do have a lot of demand. People love you. You are known all over. People were very excited that you were coming to the neighborhood. And so I guess the concern that to be clear, I'm sure that there's a solution to it, is that fundamentally, especially as we get into the summer months and the warm months, anytime you have a DJ, even if your intention is not a launch or kickoff event, you are going to it is going to create, you almost have to plan that that should be the expectation. If there's music coming out of a venue that has liquor, that only has 4 seats, that don't you're unintentionally, the success of your restaurant with the DJ will create that. So I guess for me, I'm just, again, I can't imagine a situation where there's a DJ and there doesn't end up being just a crowd gathering again because you are so loved. So just expressing that concern that you can plan for things, but it's the idea for me that it feels like you should just almost anticipate that if you have a DJ, there will be a crowd. So.
Well, I can speak to that.
Yeah, sorry. And Brandon, I don't know how to address that or what, but yes, go ahead.
Yeah, if the applicant wants to speak to that, then that will be.
Yes. So we have ran into this before. What we've noticed is that having the DJ, just as Michael was mentioning, help secure the music, it creates a different vibe. So we have a tendency of doing that every now and then, and it is something that we do like to have planned out. It's not something where we're just going to throw it in and then we just kind of see what happens. The vibe that it creates, we want people to kind of have that cookout feel, but we also let them know, hey, you've gotten everything, just make sure you can't stay here, you got to go. So we still incorporate that this is a pick up and go, but it's almost like stepping into, a shopping mall or shopping store, and you're going to get your items and your favorite song is on. We want to be able just to create a good feel vibe. So when you step into the environment, you're coming to it's brotherly love. but it's not the you're going to come and stay. No, we make sure that if there are crowds of people that happen to be around any of our locations that should not be there, we do have management that lets them know, hey, we need to address that. Now, granted, if they're just crowds that has nothing to do with the business, we can't really speak to that, right? But if it's purposely people that we know are there to patronize, that may possibly cause an issue, we are going to step in. So we're not going to just allow for that to be. I can say, gratefully enough, because we have been able to do this 6 times before we came to Brooklyn, we now have it pinpoint that there's an issue. And we've had people from store locations to give us a ring and say, hey, there's an issue. We see something happening. And I want a part of that escalation chain. I've gotten those calls. I've immediately made calls so that we can get stuff taken care of. So I want everyone to know that being able to get in contact with members of the team is going to be very easy, very easy. Even if you hit us up on social media, hey, can somebody have Angel to call me? Or whatever that is, we'll make sure to take care of it, because we just want to have, again, we want to be good neighbors, that we just want to be good neighbors wherever we go.
Okay, thank you.
Brendan, we're happy to leave details at the board office with a direct contact to multiple people, if that's helpful.
I'm sure it may be, but at this point, I'm going to ask if any of the other board members or members of the public have a question. And
Brendan?
Mr. Andrews, sorry, go ahead.
I believe I just heard Angel say that there are, so I'm guessing since you can't sit in the restaurant and eat, you guys would not have an accessible bathroom, 1. 2, if you're in a wheelchair or if you're blind, how would you be able to get into the location?
I think I saw a wheelchair sign on the front of the location, but go ahead.
There are also 2 tables inside the restaurant with 4 seats. I want to make sure that is just to be clear in the record. Okay.
Right.
I also believe that the building has been there and in generally the shape it's been for a very long time. So I don't know whether the restroom's ADA compliant or not, but I don't know that there's an obligation to bring it into compliance. I don't know if it's possible to, frankly, but other than that, Angel can answer.
We have made accommodations for all customers that have come in. We've had customers that, quite frankly, may have been in wheelchairs. We have gone out and got the orders for them so that even if they didn't want to come into the restaurant, people on crutches, we've been able to accommodate. So I feel that we will be able to offer assistance to any and all of our customers that come into contact with us with ease.
Gotcha.
Right. Thank you. I want to ask if any members of the public or other board members have a question or a comment. If you do, if you could use the raise your hand feature in Zoom, and I'll be happy to call on you. Any questions or comments? All right. Hearing none. Does anyone on the committee want to make a motion? Ms. Anadu.
I motion to approve. Can I motion with a stipulation?
Sure.
A motion to approve with a stipulation that whenever possible, if it's known that there's going to be a DJ, that, they notify neighbors or post some sort of notice. I don't know if that's too much of a stipulation. But.
Okay. Is there a second from Ms. Anadu? Second from Mr. Andrews? Great. Yep. Discussion on the motion. So I guess question for Ms. Anadu off the bat is your condition effectively that if they want to have a DJ, that they put up a notice some amount of time in advance?
Yeah, just to let the people in the building know, just letting their immediate neighbors know.
Okay. What do you think would be a reasonable time in advance for them to do that?
Even just 24 hours.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on the motion? Mr. Varela.
Yeah, I just wanted to check in. The hours of operation are currently 9 and 10 p.m. closed Sunday and Mondays. That's correct?
That is correct.
All right, any other questions or comments on the motion? Before we vote, I just want to ask the applicants, are you willing to put up a notice 24 hours before you have a DJ, advising folks that you're going to have a DJ?
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah.
I just want to point something out. I'm not sure that this, we're happy to do that and we'll do it. I've never seen it written into a liquor license method of operation before. I'm not sure that the SLA will do it. We'll ask them to, but I just, and we're happy to do it. We may be back to talk to you about it again if they tell us, no, sorry, you know, you've got to structure it differently with the community board because we don't have the flexibility to limit the method of operation in that way. I'm not saying they're going to do that, but I'm anticipating they might, just because it's, and again, something the applicant's perfectly agreeable to, but something that's a little out of the ordinary. Okay.
No, I appreciate it. And I think we appreciate more so the willingness of the applicant to do this than whatever legal permissibility exists in the level of the SLA, because we're not the SLA. And the SLA has the power to do whatever they like with the application once we make a recommendation. And that's what we do, is we make a recommendation. We know things that we care about in that regard. But I'm happy to take any guidance from the board office if they like. Ms. Muller, do you have thoughts on this?
Yes, Mr. Palutis is correct. If I could recommend, I think what might get to the spirit of Ms. Anato's request is I would recommend perhaps approving as submitted with the stipulation of no live DJ, because if they do want a live DJ, they can always file for a special event permit. Does that make sense? Because Mr. Palutis is correct that neither the board nor the SLA can enforce any future communications with the neighbors.
We won't be able to get a special event permit to do. We can get a SAPO permit, as was discussed, but in terms of offering a someone who's acting as a quote unquote DJ curating the music inside on a day we're not getting a SAPO permit, we won't be able to do. They won't be able to do that ever, and that's the problem with eliminating it altogether. Ms. Muller, our client is very happy to post notice, to notify the board office, to do anything that would be, advantageous and helpful. But if the stipulation that comes out of the board office that we agree to is submitted to the liquor authority and it says no DJs, then they're not going to be able to do it at all without filing an application to change their method of operation. And that process right now at the state liquor authority is taking 6 to 8 months. So it's not a pivot. It's not nimble. It's a very long and difficult process. We'd have to give you another 30-day notice. We'd have to come back to you again. We would then have to file an application to change method of operation. That application would take probably right now at processing times, it would take 8 months. And so that's a challenge. It's just a challenge on our end.
Everything Mr. Palutis is saying is correct. I would stand by my recommendation to the committee, however.
Okay, so I have some thoughts on this, but I'll let Mr. Varela go first.
I think Nicole has had her hand up, but not the feature.
I don't know why it's not. Sorry, Nicole, go ahead.
It's okay. I'll let Alejandro speak.
I guess since I was one of the people who originally brought up the concern around overflow and more of the sort of opening day possibility, crowds. I wonder, since that day, I'm sorry I didn't ask this earlier, since that day, have you had DJs and have you had similar overflow? It could be that we're worried unnecessarily. I guess what I would want is just that if on every occasion where it's, you know, everything aligns, nice day, music, and now alcohol, so there's overflow. If it creates that, then I would like, hopefully, for the establishment to realize, okay, we need to actually file for this SEPA, or I don't know the acronym, permit, in order to, if every time we have a DJ, because it always creates this party onto the street, which is great, but if it's done, you know, correctly. And so, yeah, so I forgot to ask, but does anyone know, Taya, have there been complaints about that since the first day in the articles that appeared?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Mayor.
Wait, Ms. Cobb, I think, wanted to make a statement. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm in full agreement with speaking to the neighbors, immediate neighbors about it. My concern, again, is that if you post that there's going to be a DJ, you're going to have a lot of people in that neighborhood is going to come for the DJ. I mean, that's my concern. So I would certainly be in agreement with letting the immediate neighbors, your neighbors, know. But as far as posting that, I'm not sure that's a good idea without, I mean, I think you're asking for more problems.
Okay. Wait, hold on, everybody. Ms. Thurston had her hand up. Perhaps you had something you wanted to add, Ms. Thurston?
I'd just like to offer a friendly amendment, seeing Emily's comment in the chat, and I would like to ask, Emily, since you made the motion, would you remove that stipulation and just suggest that for the time being, we say no DJ and just move forward? I'll also acknowledge that I'm totally missing Passover Seder for this conversation. So I'd love to move it along if we can.
Okay, so
I take back my motion and I'll let someone else make a motion. Just
okay, fair. Okay.
All right. So I guess what we've had is Ms. Anadu has withdrawn her motion, and she's going to let somebody else make a motion.
Mr. Smith, I think Angel wanted to speak quickly to that last comment.
Sorry, we're technically at the point of committee discussion at the moment, but I'll make an exception. Is there something you wanted to add on this?
Yes, we technically already had a DJ at the restaurant in October, and we did not have any of the lines that there was a concern about. So we tested it out. We did have a positive response as far as the curation. The weather, we chose not to have that person to come back out because of the weather, but we just had it. So we tested that out already, and we're not anticipating having a DJ out to pull the same type of volume from the grand opening. Okay.
Are there certain days of the week that you would, if you had to only do the DJ for a couple of days a week, that you would want to do it, or you want to have more freedom to do it whenever?
If we were to do it, it literally would be maybe once a week, and that would be on a Saturday.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, with that in mind, I'm going to make a new motion that we approve the application with no stipulations, but I'm happy to accept any amendments that people have. Can I get a second?
Second.
I second it.
All right. Ms. Thurston technically first, so she gets the second. We can have a discussion now. And I guess one point of discussion, would folks want to limit the amount of time that they can use the DJ, or let them just go through the process whenever they want?
Mr. Smith, we don't have the authority to place those requirements. And just a reminder that they're proposing to close at 9 p.m.
Okay, I appreciate that. Ms. Muller, do you have a suggestion for an amendment to make on the motion?
That is not in my purview, Chair Smith.
Okay, I mean, you've offered a suggestion already, so I'm just trying to understand.
Brandon, I suggest I support your amendment. My hope is that based on this discussion, that that if there's an issue, the owner, the restaurant operator will address it. They will see that it's an issue and they will plan accordingly. because inevitably they have to renew their liquor license.
Right. I think it's probably goes without saying, whether it's a stipulation or not, that the committee would like the applicant to speak to the neighbors if they're going to have a DJ at the location. But right now it's not a part of the formal motion. So at this point, I'm going to ask, does anyone on the committee have any other comments? And then I'll ask, and then we'll put it to a vote. All right. Hearing none, Mr. Varela, how do you vote?
In favor.
Okay. Ms. Thurston, how do you vote?
In favor.
Mr. Andrews, how do you vote?
In favor.
Ms. Cobb, how do you vote? Can't hear you, Ms. Cobb.
In favor.
Okay. Ms. Anadu?
In favor.
Mr. Andrews?
In favor.
Ms. McKnight?
In favor.
I don't think I missed anybody, but I also vote in favor. Congratulations. Good luck with your establishment. All right. Next on our agenda tonight, we have 47 Hall, Eddie Dean. Is there somebody here from this location?
Hello, Eddie Dean is here. Did you hear me?
I can hear it. I can hear you. Yes.
How are you? Eddie Dean is here. My attorney's Terry Flynn, and the timing of the meeting, Terry is actually in the air at the moment right now, going away on a holiday vacation with his family. So, I will address all your questions.
Okay. Could you tell us about what kind of establishment you're going to have, and maybe some of the reasoning around the outdoor hours and the 4 a.m. close?
Sure. This is part of the Hall project. I imagine you guys are all familiar with the Hall project. It's a full city block, 10 buildings. The building that they have earmarked for hospitality is the building J, which is right along Flushing Avenue. It is surrounded, by high rise, I guess about 6-story buildings, I believe they are. It's a business. My daughter will be my partner. And it, I would say that, we have 14 months to build once we get started. It is as you can see, it's an indoor and outdoor space. The outdoors will be have a perimeter around it, a wall to create a perimeter. We will have 6 cabanas. We will have an outdoor bar along the building. We will have a food kiosk, which I plan on utilizing to do pop-ups with community restaurants, startups. There's a lot of these food trucks and whatnot that don't have a brick and mortar. I love the idea of incorporating other businesses in the community, that we can kind of keep it interesting and mix it up, periodically with different foods from the community. We're going to do brunch on the weekends. We'll have TVs for sporting events. I would like to do some music. It could be a DJ, it could be live music. So it's much different from the previous 2 applicants that we've heard from. We will do private events. That's one of the beautiful things about having an indoor and an outdoor. Weather permitting, we could sort of maybe have a private affair inside and then utilize the outside for public, or vice versa. So that is another thing. It's a very big project. It's going to be a very big investment. I probably should have started with a little background on myself. I am an experienced operator. This May, it'll be my 34th year in hospitality in New York City, predominantly in Brooklyn. My earlier career, I was in Bay Ridge. I started with a little neighborhood bar, and I eventually opened up 2 more in Bay Ridge. And then I eventually went into Manhattan, where I opened up 3 different places over the next 15 years or so. And then 2016, I actually made my way full circle right back to Brooklyn, and currently operate in we're Community Board 1 on right off of Kent on North 11th Street. I have it's more of a club, private event space called Szymanski. I believe that's listed there in the application somewhere. And that, like I said, that's, I think we're about an 800 cap there. We do mostly electronic dance music there. But this is completely different. I'm effectively going back to where I started with, a gastropub with emphasis on sports and music. So I'm kind of coming full circle with this. So this is, for me, something that puts all my favorite things together. And I love the opportunity. I think the hall is it's a great project. I think that where we're situated, we don't have any immediate neighbors. Right across the street is the Navy Yard. The other across the street from us, we have it's a cold storage, pretty much the whole block. It's a very, very big cold storage building. And I guess that is an overview.
Great. Could I ask, what time are you going to close the outdoor seating?
Well, seating, I would say, someone mentioned it earlier. I think it was a previous attorney with the SLA. The method of operation comment he made. You can never go back, once you say, like, I don't see us going to 4 a.m. I don't that often, but on the occasion, for competitive purposes, frankly, in this environment in New York City, it's very competitive. The overhead is very, challenging. So, you don't want to be put at a competitive disadvantage if, you have an opportunity to do an event and they want to go later, or they want to do 2 sessions, and then you lose an event. So that's why we say this. I don't want to be put at a competitive disadvantage. I don't really envision, 4 a.m. that often, but there could be events where, you do that. And to the previous attorney's point, it unfortunately, the way the system works. Okay.
So the reason I ask is just because your application doesn't say anything about when the outdoor area is going to close. So am I to assume that you're proposing to close at 4 a.m. 7 days a week in terms of your application outdoors?
It does say that here, doesn't it? It's blank. Oh, it's just, okay. Yeah, we didn't put correct. Yes.
Okay. So we would ask that you resubmit that document to the board office with whatever hours we agree on here at the committee, whether it be 4 a.m. or another time. Questions from members of the committee?
I'd like to say something.
Go ahead, Ms. Cobb.
Yeah. And I know the space. Eddie, is that your name?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I know the space. I just want to, congratulate you. But I just want you to know, you do have neighbors. I am a neighbor.
Really? Okay.
On the other side of the BQE, on the other side of Park Avenue, you've got a lot of neighbors, a lot of private housing. And while you're right about on that side, it's just something, a new development that's being built. We have other businesses that are coming into the neighborhood, and parking is quite a problem. So I just thought it's not your problem, but I just wanted to throw it out to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that when you're talking about parking, and I've heard this so often, it's not a problem. It does create a problem for homeowners in the area. Okay, I just wanted to throw that out to you.
Thank you.
Other questions from members of the committee? Ms. Thurston.
Mr. Chair. Oh.
I'll go to you next, Victor.
Yes, I'd like to say that while we typically kind of get concerned when we see a 4 a.m. On anything, it's just the hairs on the back of our necks sort of stand up. I'm supportive. It's not directly adjacent, say for the BQE, to residences. And I think that I am supportive of this. I just would like to know, Eddie, if you don't mind, will there be a manager always on premise, and B, will you make their information, like contact information, available to community members? And if so, how? Should there be any cause for concern?
I should state too, I do have a really extensive resume, and you may not be familiar with it. So, I mean, if I'm, saying maybe you do, maybe you don't. I do have a long history of operating in New York City. I've worked within several different community boards, most recently your neighbor CB1. I would suggest perhaps if it's something you would typically do or not, perhaps even reach out. I don't even know.
I just would love an answer to that question.
Yeah. Well, the answer is yes. And I'm just drawing the picture that, I've been a good neighbor for 34 years, and I've honestly never, I mean, that's a big word. I've never had an issue with a community board that wasn't fixable or solved. I mean, I've always worked with my neighbors. I had my first place, funny enough, was a rock and roll bar on the ground floor with 8 units above me. When I was a young guy, it never even occurred to me. And I was there for 10 years because we took measures and, always, listened to the community and the neighbors, and we're very proactive.
Are you going to have a manager on the site?
Absolutely. I will have a manager. I'm an active owner. I'm there. My daughter will be there. She's my partner too. But yeah, so we will make contact numbers available to you. Absolutely.
Thanks. And sorry, just for the sake of time, Mr. Varela.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. I have always been supportive of indoor late closings. It's the outdoor that concerns me. I know when I first joined the committee a long time ago, I would have said you're in a park in an industrial area, it's fine out there. But as we have learned time and time again, that area on the other side of the BQE has become residential. I can't in this moment tell you how, or can't picture how far you are exactly from the closest new development there. But as Ms. Cobb pointed out, just across the BQE, there is long-term residential housing there, space. And so I guess my point is I'm concerned with the outdoor closing being that late. We don't approve anything near that late anywhere else. In fact, we've as noted in the chat, 1 block away, the Comedy Place, we gave them a lot of flack. There was a lot of community concern around them being even open, period, and it being a destination place. So I plan to suggest that we limit the outdoor hours, number 1. I'm okay with the indoor hours. And to Ms. Cobb's point, I wonder, and this will come later, I would like to consider making the routes of public transportation to and from the venue very public and accessible in some way, shape, or form. If it is a place where people are going to come to drink, then they probably shouldn't be driving anyway. And so maybe that.
Yeah.
Anyway, hold on 1 second. I'm not done. So those are the 3. I lost my train of thought. The third thing was well, to be continued. I'll pass it on to the next person.
Right. I appreciate that, Mr. Varela. I think we'll be able to take up some discussions of hours a little bit later. We'll get the applicant's point of view on that, but I want to get the questions out. And somebody just put their hand down. Were there any other questions from the committee? Mr. Andrews, you had a question, I believe.
Is your establishment accessible, wheelchair accessible, or your bathrooms as well? Those are the 2 I'm worried about.
Okay. Mr. Dean, do you have an answer about wheelchair accessibility? I think you're on mute, Mr. Dean.
I didn't even touch it. I don't know what happened there. Yes, we have 2 existing ramps as well as existing handicap bathrooms currently.
Great. Thank you.
That'll work.
Any questions from board members or members of the public about this location, 47 Hall Street? If you do, if you have something, just raise your hand on the Zoom feature. All right. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I offer a motion to, what is it? Pass it or?
Approve.
Approve, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Is there a second on Ms. Cobb's motion?
I second.
Second by Mr. Varela. Discussion on the motion. Ms. Anadu.
Hey, what were the hours that we put in place for 275 Park?
Oh, I'm sure we can figure that out.
You anticipated me. 1 second.
I know. I just figured you would like they would just appear on the screen.
Where to go? 1 second.
And just given the applicants, and I guess, yeah, I remember this discussion. And we took a very pro resident stance. And I know that one of the applicants' concerns was competitive nature of other businesses. And so I would, 4 a.m. just seems, I live on the BQE. And so I appreciate, I appreciate, and it sounds like the operators had wonderful success in the past. It does seem incongruous, slightly incongruous to me, the idea that good neighbor, but good neighbor wasn't aware that they're humans, not just cold storage living around. Those, again, slightly incongruous for me. But so I would just say that, again, as a human who lives right off the BQE, for me, 4 a.m. closings when people have been drinking, it's later than most like other businesses. And so I would like to keep closing a reasonable hour, even for me, like 1 or 2 a.m. on the weekends and like midnight during the week, but 4 a.m.
Right. And to be clear, are you talking about the outdoor hours there, Ms. Anadu?
Yes, the outdoor no later than like midnight, maybe, and then 1 a.m. on the weekends. But even honestly, for me, what was for 275 Park, what are the hours? Do we get 4 a.m. Okay.
Yeah, that would...
for indoors, but on weekdays no later than, I would say, midnight and 1 a.m. on the yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Taya.
Do you want to make that as a friendly amendment?
Yes, friendly amendment to amend the hours to basically match 275 Park's hours.
Anyway, what is 275 Park?
Sorry, Mr. Dean, this is the committee discussion time, so only
okay.
The committee is, but we'll be happy to check in with you in just a bit. The question is for Ms. Cobb, who made the motion. Do you accept Ms. Anadu's friendly amendment?
I'm sorry, can you say that again, please?
Sure. The amendment is to have the outdoor closing hours at midnight during the weekdays and 1 a.m. on Friday, Saturday.
And sorry, 2 a.m. Brandon, because to match the 275's hours.
Oh, 2 a.m. Okay, 2 a.m. on Friday, Saturday. Do you accept that, Ms. Cobb?
That's acceptable, yes.
Okay. Mr. Dean, I'm going to ask you, is that acceptable to you? Mr. Dean, you're on mute, so I can't hear you.
I don't know why that happened. I haven't touched it. What is 275 Park? Is it Apples and Apples? I'm not quite sure I'm not familiar with that place.
It's a block away from the location. It's a comedy club.
Is that Park? Huh, I'm not familiar. I mean, I would just like to point out, addressing the earlier point that was made by the other gentleman there regarding parking and whatnot, you know, it's a very, very high percentage of our crowd takes public transport now, the Uber method. That's like a very large majority. I wouldn't expect a whole lot of parking, but you know, so that's that. I mean, is when you're saying, you know, there's neighbors on the other side of the BQE, is this a noise concern? Is that what you're talking about?
I think the concern could be noise, and certainly that's the concern that we've heard from people at from residents at the surrounding the 275 Park, which again is a block away, where we had to have multiple town halls as a community board to resolve the issues with, and I'm not even sure that the residents are satisfied at that point with the amount of noise that's coming out of that. And again, that's a block away. But I think the fundamental question for you, Mr. Dean, is it from our committee doesn't just approve 4 a.m. outdoor closing times for most applicants, or really any that I can recently remember. Is it something that you can live with to have a midnight closing time and 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. on Friday, Saturday? Or is there something that you're specifically planning to do between midnight and 4 a.m. or 2 and 4 a.m. that would be an issue?
It is. Again, this goes back to the gentleman's point earlier with the SLA. You know, I really don't see us, you know, during the week going to 4 a.m. I really don't. But when you limit yourself at this, you take yourself out of the equation in circumstances that put you at a competitive disadvantage. And, you know, I could see how that could be a concern to you, but it's when you're making such a big investment like we are, you know, you kind of, you know, you don't want to limit yourself in that regard. And I will point out that, you know, you're active members of the community, so you're well aware of the various agencies that are out there. So, and in my career, there's no shortages of a way to penalize or shut a place down by multiple agencies. And to your committee members' point as well, you know, you got to come back for renewal. And I've been approved so far for 9 different venues and countless renewals. I've never been denied. And I really think that should carry weight. I would not be going to such a great investment with any intentions of ill will towards the community. If I'm not wanting the community, fine, I'll go somewhere else.
Okay,
I'm fine. But
is it fair to say you do not agree to close at midnight Sunday to Thursday?
I'd like to have a further discussion about it and maybe share some more thoughts with you guys about it. So perhaps you can see it from my point of view. I have no intentions of being a disruptive neighbor. I can assure you. And it's not like I'm a guy coming to you that has not had multiple licenses in the market in the community. So, you know, I'm not a guy coming from out of state. Hey, I have a public track record for 34 years. And I think that should be taken into account. I would hope it would be, that I am a good neighbor and intend on continuing to be a good neighbor. I would not want to be a bad neighbor and be denied for my renewal after 2 years, you know? So I just, at this stage, maybe we could discuss it further. I don't know what the process is.
Okay. Well, the process will be, we'll discuss it further as a committee, and we'll let you know if we need to hear anything more from you with respect to this. I will let you know we do not have renewals come before our committee anymore, so we don't have a process to guarantee that there will be any further engagement. But I would like to hear from the committee's perspectives on this, and we'll go back into that fashion. I'll let Ms. Anadu take this.
I'm open to any. I would love to answer your questions.
Okay, Ms. Anadu.
Hey, just so I understand, is the committee required or have any obligation to take into account an applicant's investment in the business?
Well,
not by law.
Okay. Again, and sir, just to your point about, sorry, and just to reaffirm, because I don't know if everyone has seen the comments, but to the competitive nature, I'm asking to match the closest competitor. in terms of hours.
Okay.
Knowing that we had several meetings to get them to those hours, taking into account all of the neighbors aren't any different. And again, and this is for me being on this board and literally living on the BQE.
Okay. Mr. Varela.
I just want to underscore that this is for the outdoor hours only. I have never in all my time here approved an application for a 4 a.m. closing for an outdoor space, regardless of where it is. Yeah, I'm open to being corrected. So I don't feel that regardless of this applicant's history, we should make this exception for this one person, this one applicant. I think it would set a bad precedent. And so I think the 2 a.m. closing is perfectly fair for an outdoor space.
Okay. Ms. McKnight, you had your hand up. Did you want to say something?
I just was pretty much going to say what Alejandro said, that I think 2 o'clock outside is a fair option.
Okay. Any further discussion from the committee? Mr. Varela, do you have your hand up for something new? And then I'll go to Ms.
That was me. Yeah, I too would agree. That area, it's exactly where he is. It's not a lot of residents, but 2 a.m., I think I would definitely agree with that. It's not about the noise, it's 2 a.m., yes.
Okay, great. Any other discussion from the committee? All right, motion is on the floor. Mr. Varela, how do you vote?
In favor.
Ms. Cobb, how do you vote?
In favor.
Ms. Anadu, how do you vote?
In favor, just to confirm, this is with the 2 a.m. close midnight during the week and 2 a.m. Yes, yes, in favor.
Ms. McKnight, how do you vote?
Now I'm confused. I thought it was just 2 a.m. outside and everything was the same. But Emily, you said
2 a.m.
12.
outdoors Friday, Saturday, midnight outdoors the rest of the days.
Yes. But
That's
inside
correct.
Nicole till 4.
Right.
Oh, I thought we had agreed to 2 a.m. all nights. All right.
Vote.
Just for everyone's clarity, the motion on the floor for the outdoor hours, it's Sunday through Thursday, close at 12 midnight. For Friday and Saturday, close at 2 a.m. So I'll go back through the voting with everybody just so that we can be 100% certain that everybody knows what they're voting on. 4 a.m. close 7 days a week, every day. Outdoors, midnight, Sunday to Thursday, 2 a.m. Friday and Saturday. Mr. Varela, how do you vote?
In favor.
Ms. Cobb?
In favor.
Ms. Anadu?
In favor.
Ms. Thurston?
In favor.
Ms. McKnight?
In favor.
Mr. Andrews?
In favor.
I don't think I missed anybody. I also vote in favor. I would ask the applicant to turn in the application with their outdoor hours listed, and otherwise wish you good luck.
Thank you. I was muted again. Thank you.
All right, next up, 229 Livingston, Jennifer Bistro. Do we have someone here from this location?
Yes, we do. Are you guys able to hear me
yes.
effectively? Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not able to share my camera. I just pulled over.
That's okay.
Well, thank you. Okay, perfect. Well, thank you, Mr. Smith and members of the committee for meeting with us today. We just wanted to go ahead at this establishment and renew our methods of operation. This was already a previously approved license as of last year, August 22nd, 2022. We just wanted to renew our hours from Sunday through Wednesday. We would like to extend our hours from a business perspective to reach our customer base. We had a lot of clients that come in that were, they want to, let's say, for example, host a dinner party or maybe some sort of a private event that we're not able to accommodate the hours. Thursday, on the previous liquor license, Friday was not in that license, and we wanted to amend that. We also wanted to extend our hours Thursday through Saturday through 2 a.m. We have no outdoor seating. We have no live DJ. There will be a manager on the premises at all times. We are wheelchair accessible. I do also have on the call the owner of the establishment, Mr. Shazad, should he need to weigh in at any moment here. And also, I just wanted to let the board know that, keeping in mind, even though we do want to extend our hours, our establishment may not go to these allotted hours, which is also dependent on, if there's a private event or customers or however the day is going.
Okay, thanks for the presentation. We'll have committee comments and questions, but I think the initial thing I would want to mention on this is, yes, you did come before us. That was November of 2020, and we approved a set of hours for indoors until 10 p.m. on Monday to Thursday, Saturday and Sunday until 10 p.m. And for some reason, we didn't approve any hours on Friday. It seems you're now seeking to have later hours. And at the same time, it appears that we've had complaints from members of the community, particularly we received a complaint here from the Downtown Brooklyn Partnership, which is somewhat unusual for a liquor license to receive a complaint from a bid. And there was further a flyer circulated that appears to indicate some kind of private event going on from until 3 a.m. at your establishment back on Saturday, January 28th. And with all of those things in consideration, I was wondering if you could explain whether you've been operating under the hours that were previously given to you, and what, if anything, happened back on January 28th.
Okay, yes, definitely. We did have some private events, but in terms of the bid that you're speaking of, I think you had it up on your screen. Do you mind sharing that again? You said it was from the downtown bid?
No, I just had your application up on the screen. We're not.
I got it. I got
it. Okay. I apologize about that. Yes, we were aware of the noise complaints, and to be completely transparent, it seems as though that the community around that area, because there's no residential adjacent in the front or in the back, it seems as though the community it's somewhat a bit sensitive, if I may say, to the private events. We were operating exactly within the parameters that we were granted on our SLA license that was previously approved. The second thing is, I want to address the flyer that you mentioned. That event was canceled because they were mistaken that this could not go up until 3 a.m. So that event did not happen.
Okay. So at least from your position, there have not been any events or uses at the establishment that have gone past 10 a.m. on Sunday to Thursday or 11 p.m. on Saturday.
No, we host we do host some private events at times. Like, for example, we had a wedding this past weekend. But there was no liquor that was being sold or being distributed or anything of the sort past those hours.
Right, but what was the establishment open past those hours?
No, the establishment wasn't open past those hours. We had the event within the allotted hours, and it was closed from then. After hours, we're cleaning up, we're doing different things, but no, nothing past those hours.
So what is this event that's up on the screen right now? I don't know if you can see, but it says that on April 22nd, there's going to be an event till 4 a.m. that night at your location.
Okay, yes, this party was also canceled. There were a lot of inquiries that that came to us, a lot of customers that came to us that wanted to host their private events. We did inform them of the hours that we can host the events. And also when doing this application with the community board and so forth, there were some stipulations that we weren't aware of, like, for example, coming before the community board, getting the 30-day notice, then, then getting it to the SLA. So those steps that we weren't aware of. So those events have been canceled.
Okay. Questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the committee? Ms. Anadu.
Hey, is this a recording, or are you right now able to purchase tickets to this canceled event?
Oh, that's live. That's live.
That's live.
That
okay.
I'm not. Oh, okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions from members of the committee? All right. Questions from members of the public or other board members? If you have a question, just raise your hand and I'll recognize you. Mr. Guerrero, thanks for raising your hand. You've got 2 minutes on the clock. Thanks for joining us, and feel free to share your question or comment. Just a reminder to please address it to the chair.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the time. I'll try to be quick here. I myself live at 45 Hoyt Street. I am perpendicular from the venue. There are over 1,000 apartment units between my building, 11 Hoyt, which is across the street from 229 Livingston, and then also 225 Livingston, which I believe is known as the Addison. And I have some pretty substantial concerns about the space, the noise level and the soundproofing. I'm a little concerned because I have been hearing events pretty much every single weekend at this point. The low frequency bass music, the vibrations have prevented me from sleeping till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. There are evidence of numerous events that have taken place and are also on the forward-looking calendar. I feel like that contradict what has been said about the following of the guidelines. We were all looking forward when the sign went up for Jennifer Bistro as a new restaurant in the neighborhood. It's a nightclub. It is strictly a nightclub. There are only events happening that are all ticketed events. There's nothing open to the public. They are closed during the day. There's been porta potties on the sidewalk, double parked cars down Livingston Street, forcing traffic onto the oncoming lane. In my opinion, they haven't been a good neighbor. They have not really done anything that shows that they've done any outreach to the neighborhood. All of the flyers in the application photo are located under the roll gates, which are shut during and outside of operation hours. So nobody in the community that I'm aware of knew about this change for request. None of the leasing offices for the 3 residential buildings mentioned were aware of the request. And I've also noticed on the application itself, it does not make mention of a DJ, but all of the events, that have been referenced include multiple DJs. So I'm not sure what the disconnect is here, but it feels like it's like I'm not hearing the same story from the representatives of the business as I am from living here and trying to sleep through it.
Thank you, Mr. Guerrero. First of all, I'm just going to ask everybody if you could just please be quiet so I can hear from the next person if there is a question or comment. Is there any other community member who has a comment or a question about this venue? All right, I'm not seeing anyone else. At this point, I'll go back to the applicant and just ask the applicant briefly, do you have any feedback that you like to provide? Just if you could provide it to the chair, that way we could avoid a back and forth.
Okay, Mr. Guerrero, first I just want to apologize.
I'm the chair, Ms. Janelle. If you could please just address me, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. I just wanted to, and I'm speaking to you, and also just wanted to, profusely apologize if I've caused any inconvenience, if our establishment has caused any inconvenience. So the points that were made there, like I've mentioned before, yes, we did have some private events that weren't allotted hours of our what was approved. In terms of our nightclub, as he mentioned, we would never or have never ran this establishment as a nightclub. Yes, we applied for it. It is a restaurant. It was closed because due to some personal issues, due to COVID, due to some financial issues. Hence, that's why the reason we did host some private events so we can, pay our rent and keep our business going. We worked so hard to get the license approved. And now we notice that in order to extend the hours, it can expand our business. It can reach our customers. It can reach the customer base that we wanted to. But as far as running it as a nightclub or running this establishment, that is no way in what we do or what we are intentionally want to do at any point in this.
Thank you. Mr. Guerrero, if I could just ask you a question. To what extent do you have personal knowledge from your experience of hearing noise from the venue after 10 p.m. on Sunday to Thursday and after 11 p.m. on Saturday or on Friday at all?
Yeah, I'm pretty substantial. I work from home. I obviously live here. My window looks right out on the venue, so I pretty much am always aware of what's going on. Just this past Sunday, April 2nd, I believe, there was a 311 call that required police intervention that happened at 12:06 p.m. was the recorded time I have. So there are noise issues happening well after that time period, pretty much every single weekend at this point. And I'm
12:06 a.m. I assume you mean, right?
Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah, you said 12:06 p.m.
Sorry, at 12:06 a.m. midnight.
Okay.
Midnight. And I'm confused because I work from home, like I mentioned. I'm here. I've never seen the establishment open as a restaurant or available to the public. So I'm not sure if I'm missing something, but it seems to be closed during the day. So I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Guerrero. Does anyone from the committee have anything further, or would anyone like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion.
Feel free.
I'd like to move to disapprove this change of operations application. I'd like to add a formal censure and limit the existing approved hours to a strict closure at 10 p.m. all days. So we can add Friday to that, even if it's not reflected previously. So that is my motion.
All right. Is there a second? Second for Ms. Sanadu. All right. Discussion on the motion. Committee members, do you have any discussion on this motion?
Brandon,
Mr. Varela, go ahead.
Yeah, I just one kind of data point there. The community member who spoke and said that they never saw it open during the day. I would just like to clarify: is it possible that this is a venue that serves dinner only and it's happening later and it's not? I just want to know: is it currently a venue that's selling itself as a dinner spot only, or is it?
I've never seen a menu. I've never seen the door open. I've never seen people go there. It's Wednesday at 7:30. The gates are currently shut. It's not an operation. So if it's a restaurant, it's unknown to me what they sell or when they're open.
Mr. Varela, I'm not sure I understand your question. And
it was exactly what was answered. I guess what I wanted to know was I just wanted to make sure it wasn't that the community member who said that it's not operating as a restaurant wasn't mistaken, that it was a late night restaurant versus like an all day restaurant. That's it. And it's been clarified.
Okay.
Thank you.
Other questions from the members of the committee? Comments. Ms. Sanadu?
Is this place called Jennifer's, or is it called Club Downtown?
It seems to be called what we were being told is that it's called Jennifer Bistro.
And this at 229 Livingston?
Correct.
I'm just deeply confused by who the business is, because like all these things, there's all these links where you can go look at it to rent it out as something called Downtown Brooklyn. It looks like a venue, and I can't find pictures of it with any sort of food set up. It looks like it's just so I'm just confused as to what the business is that we're voting on. Jennifer's or club downtown.
Ms. Janelle, can I ask you to clarify? Is your establishment called Jennifer Bistro, and is it called downtown? What is the name that you plan to go by to the public?
The name that we have been using and always been using is Jennifer Bistro's. The club downtown that your board member is referring to, that was a mistake on the flyer. Like I've mentioned before, there were a lot of clients that came in, they wanted to host their private events, and when they do host their private events, they make their own private flyers that we are not aware of. So when we do come into contact with those flyers, we have them remove it immediately. But honestly speaking, we are not aware of these private flyers that they make. They come into us, hey, we would like to host a private event here, whether it's a baby shower, a wedding, a dinner party, or anything of the sort. We have not been open as a restaurant because, as I mentioned a few moments ago, we've had some financial difficulty due to COVID. So we've been doing the private events so that we will be able to pay our rent and keep the business going. We do want to have it as maybe an after work event space throughout the week, in addition to the private events. So that's where we had it is. And to answer your question, circling back, it is Jennifer Bistro. Nothing about a club. No club downtown. There's no club that's being ran there.
So it's your representation. This website 229 downtown Brooklyn, completely unaffiliated from your perspective with this business.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Members of the committee, any further discussion on the motion?
Brandon,
I just need Jessica to repeat what it is, because I thought she said have them stick to their hours, but then I thought you also stated amend the hours.
Yeah, and
I can restate it if it's helpful.
Go ahead, Jessica.
Disapprove the change of operations application, which is what this is, and grant a formal censure in addition to limiting existing approved hours to a strict closure of 10 p.m. on all days, including Friday, which is not currently included in the license. So it's not a change.
Okay.
Let me ask a question.
I'm sorry, whoever would like to. Miss Cobb, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Was the application approved in the past for a restaurant, or for what was it approved for? What was the venue? I'm sorry, I missed something.
The extent that we know about what happened in the past, because I pulled the minutes, I have it sitting in front of me, is it was approved for a new liquor license, and the information we have at the meeting states there will be background music. Mr. Andrews asked about accessible bathrooms. There will be accessibility. There will be an elevator. Ms. Thurston asked when they plan to open in 3 to 4 months. Mr. Varela asked for the application. Apparently, we had not gotten the application at the time of the meeting. They were going to employ 10 people, and their hours were going to be from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday, 12 p.m. to 11 p.m. on Saturday, and 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Sunday. So Ms. Thurston's motion would have the effect of giving them the hours of 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Monday through Saturday, and on Sunday, I would assume it would still be 2 p.m. to 10 p.m.
I got you.
Any other committee points of discussion or questions?
Mr. Smith?
Oh, Ms. Muller, go ahead.
Hi. Perfect motion. Just as a point of order, Mr. Anwar Shahzad, who is on the call, is actually the legal owner of this license and should acknowledge this request as well. I don't know who Ms. Janelle Christopher is in relation to the license, actually.
That's a fair point of clarification.
Hi.
Mr. Shahzad, I recall you were the person who presented to us back in 2020, at least the minutes so indicate. Would you be able to clarify your role versus Ms. Janelle?
Yes, she's my associate, and whatever she said is true to the best of my knowledge. And if you have any question, I can answer, please.
Okay. Great. Mr. Varela.
I guess just to Ms. Muller's point, could the applicant or the representative Ms. Christopher just remind us what her role is relative to the establishment?
Ms. Christopher?
Yeah, sure. I am the manager, one of the managers of Mr. Shahzad, and I work closely with him in running the establishment.
Okay. Any other committee discussion? All right. So summarizing the motion is to disapprove the request to lengthen the hours and to add a limitation on the hours so that it is 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Monday through Saturday, or Monday through Saturday, and 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Sunday, as well as a censure. Are there any other discussion before we vote from the committee? Hearing none. Mr. Varela, how do you vote?
In favor.
Ms. Cobb, how do you vote?
Can you go to somebody else first? Let me think.
All right, I'll come back to you, Ms. Cobb.
Come back, yeah.
Ms. Anadu, how do you vote?
In favor.
Ms. Thurston, how do you vote?
In favor.
Ms. McKnight, how do you vote?
In favor.
Mr. Andrews, how do you vote?
In favor.
Okay. I vote in favor. Ms. Cobb, how do you vote?
In favor.
Okay. Did I miss anybody? I'm not feeling that I did, but all right. Well, that concludes the committee's vote. I will just say the committee's voted to disapprove the request. That means that with respect to the hours that are in effect right now, we don't want them to be made any later. And we actually prefer there to be slightly earlier hours, and that we'd like you to close on 10 p.m. on Saturday instead of 11 p.m. The next step could be that this will go to the SLA, and you're free to take it however you want. But I think what I would really emphasize to the applicants is that whatever the outcome is, we expect you to adhere to the hours that the SLA determines are applicable to your license, regardless of whether it's yourselves operating or a private event provider. We're not in the business or ability as a community board to determine who's telling the truth on a day-to-day basis about are you having an event after 10 p.m. one day, or are you having an event after 10 p.m. another day? But it does seem that there is a substantial direct and circumstantial evidence that you're holding events after 10 p.m. on other days of the week. So I will take it at that, and really note that our foremost wish is for you to have a symbiotic relationship with the local community. Next up, we've got 143 Greene, Chef Katsu. Is there somebody here from that location?
They're waving.
Come off mute, y'all.
Hi, comedy. Good evening.
Oh, hello.
Hi. I'm a friend of Chef Katsu, located at 143 Greene Avenue, Greene Street. I'm sorry, Greene Avenue, Clinton Hills, and Mr. and Miss Machida. They opened the business almost a little over 2 years ago during the COVID, March 16, 2021. They most of the clientele is community around the neighbor, and even during the COVID, they didn't shut down and they didn't take out order, and they survived. And the price of the food cost is a little going up right now. And the first time they did a little bit of price up, but they needed to survive again. And so they are applying a legal license to keep that business going.
Great. So from the looks of your application, you're going to be open until 8:30, 7 days a week. And
wait. We are closed on Monday.
You're closed on Monday. Okay. Where is the outdoor seating going to be?
It's front of the restaurant, but that's the property line.
Okay.
Within the property line.
So on the sidewalk, but within the property line.
Yes.
Okay. All right. What kind of food will you be offering?
They are selling the Japanese fast food, which is Katsu. Talk about that.
Yeah, we are serving Japanese Katsu burgers and some kinds of rice balls.
Okay. And when will you open?
We have opened 2 years ago.
Oh, okay. You're just seeking to add beer, wine, and cider.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Questions from the, first, I should just ask, have there been any complaints from anyone in the neighborhood about your establishment in the past couple of years while you've been open?
No, we don't.
Okay. Questions from members of the committee? Any questions from the committee?
Mr. Chair.
Oh, Mr. Andrews.
Just wondering if it's accessible getting in and if you guys have an accessible bathroom, just wondering.
Yes, we do. We have even 60% of the restaurants is takeout. We do have ADA compliant bathroom, also staff bathroom under the back of the kitchen.
Okay. Great, and it looks like we got some letters of support from different people in the community. So that's good. Any other questions or comments from members of the community, board members, or committee members? Hearing none, does anybody want to make a motion? Ms. Nadu?
I vote to approve this application.
Okay, Ms. Cobb, do you second?
Second.
All right, the second goes to Ms. Cobb. She had her hand up. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Mr. Andrews, how do you vote?
In favor.
Ms. Nadu?
In favor.
Ms. Cobb?
In favor.
Ms. McKnight?
In favor.
Mr. Varela? Mr. Varela?
Sorry, coughed and muted myself.
It's okay.
In favor.
Okay, Ms. Thurston?
In favor.
And I vote in favor also. Congratulations and good luck with your beer and wine and cider.
Thank you.
I appreciate the enthusiasm.
We're waiting for you guys.
All right. 44 Pearl, Hudson Wilder. Do we have somebody here from that location?
We have our team here representing. My name is Conway Liao, and I have my sister, who's also a co-founder. Her name is Joyce Liao. And we're located here in the heart of Dumbo, a block away from the Manhattan Bridge on the corner of Plymouth and Pearl, in a landmarked building that was previously a Japanese restaurant. You could look that up on Google Maps. We started the company in 2015, online-based brand. We sell our line of home goods on Saks Fifth Avenue, Nordstrom's, and various retailers, across the United States and also across the world. We got the lease for this space last year. We got the keys on New Year's Day. We completed the build, and we're actually coming up on our 1-year anniversary on the 9th of April. So this year, it's a post-industrial space. So above us, we have, various art fabricators, metal workshop upstairs, a kids art studio that operates in the normal hours. Across from us is a brush factory. So it's like a mixed use kind of space as Dumbo is. But the reason why we opened up our space was to connect with the community, but also in the middle of last year, we finally got our food permits. So we serve coffees and teas, all experienced in the glassware and the dinnerware that we design and produce. And we really wanted to kind of extend that to, serve also beer and wine. And that's the permit that we're going to be applying for in the glassware that we produce. So yeah, that's just to sum up why we're looking to apply for our beer and wine license. Our operating hours currently are from Wednesday through Sunday from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. And the reason why we are looking for a 9 p.m. license is because we do events as well. The most recent event that we did was a fundraising event for in support of Ukraine. And you can find that on, we got local press coverage as well. New York, Brooklyn 12 news station came and interviewed us. So yeah, the reason why we're looking for this is, beer and wine as a social lubricant for some of the fundraising events that we do in our space. And we're in the space right now, as you can see.
Okay. Have there been any complaints from neighbors about your existing operations in the time that you've been there?
No, we keep it pretty low key out over here. Yeah.
Okay.
And hopefully you guys receive our letters of support from our neighbors as well.
Okay, we do have 4 letters of support from within 5 blocks, 1 directly adjacent to the location. Questions from the committee, Ms. Thurston?
Yeah, thanks. Your space looks lovely and your glassware is beautiful. I just wanted to ask, have you already been serving beer and wine or anything else?
We do it for private events. The last event that we did, we had because we do glassware, we get a lot of sponsors that are looking to collaborate with our brand. We have a decent social presence. So we have been serving, but we haven't charged money for them. So I know art galleries do this all the time in Chelsea. We just want to be more mindful and, legit, to go legit, really.
No, I appreciate your honesty. Thanks.
Any other questions from members of the committee? Members of the community?
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Andrews, yes.
Just wondering if it's accessible getting in, and do you guys have an accessible bathroom?
We are in a landmark building, so unfortunately, when it comes to outdoor renovations, it's a little bit difficult for us to do so economically, but also getting permits to do so is a challenge for us. We do offer assistance to those that are offer it, and we do have a sign that's posted for that as well.
Okay, so you have a sign, you offer assistance, but current state is you don't, and we don't make decisions based on the ADA at the community board level. But just so that we understand what the facts are, you do not have an accessible bathroom or an accessible entrance currently. Is that correct?
We do not, because we are in the landmark building, so it is challenging for us to do so, make any modifications, especially on the exterior.
Right. I appreciate that. I'm sure you can appreciate it's also challenging for somebody in a wheelchair to get into a place that's not accessible.
Correct.
Yeah.
we've explored that option multiple times with our landlord. We can continue to do so. At the moment, it's just not something that it's within our parameters right now, just given that the landmark committee is quite stringent about what we can change on the exterior of the building.
Okay. Ms. Thurston.
Nope, sorry, I forgot to put my hand down.
No problem. Other questions from members of the committee, members of the board, or members of the public?
Brandon, only because we haven't said it since the first applicant, encourage you, no bearing on your application, that when and if you do hire more staff, that you try and hire locally, and by locally I mean long-term, and by long-term hopefully from pockets of high unemployment, which tend to be Black and brown folks in the community. Most appreciated. No bearing on your application again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you
Okay.
and thank you for all the questions as well.
Great. Does anyone want to make a motion? Motion from Ms. Thurston. Motion from Ms. Thurston, second from Mr. Andrews. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Mr. Varela, how do you vote?
In favor.
Mr. Andrews, how do you vote?
In favor.
Ms. Thurston?
In favor.
Ms. Nadu?
In favor.
Ms. Cobb?
In favor.
Ms. McKnight?
In favor.
I vote in favor also.
Thank you.
Good luck with your beer and wine.
Thank you, Chairman Smith, and thank you, board members. Looking forward to welcoming you guys in here, corner of Dumbo.
All right. Excellent. Well, next on the agenda tonight is the chair report. I'm going to keep it brief for the interest of time. You all may remember the homeless shelter on Hoyt Street, New Beginnings. The next meeting of the Community Advisory Board is April 20th at 7 p.m. If people are interested in this, they should contact Councilmember Ressler's office. And that's all I'll say about that. Health fair continues to progress. We're working through applicants or vendors, as well as a whole bunch of different programming. Let me know if you're interested in getting involved. And thank you to the Friends of Commodore Berry Park who offered us a budget to get tables and chairs for everybody and some of our other expenses. I'll keep it at that for the evening, but if anybody has ideas for future meeting presenters or presentations, feel free to reach out to myself and Nicole about that. I love to have everybody's feedback and just encourage you to keep it to our core topics of health, environment, and social services to the extent that you can. Otherwise, that'll conclude my chair report. We'll go into the next item of the agenda, which is other committee business. Does anyone have any other business to raise?
Does anyone give more thought to those items on the questionnaire that would reflect restaurants making themselves more accessible to folks with disability and seniors, around lighting and patterns and things? I sent it around 2 meetings ago. I can send it around again, but I don't know.
I think that would be helpful, Mr. Varela.
Okay, I'll do that.
I will make it a point to comment on your proposal.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Next up go ahead. Okay. No, you go ahead. I don't want to limit the other business that might exist.
No, there isn't. I was about to comment on the comment that just came up, which I think you're about to make room for.
Okay. Yes, we're going to have community forum here in just a second, and we can go to that. That's the next step on the agenda. Community forum is an opportunity for any members of the community to make an announcement or a comment. You have 2 minutes, and if you want to make a comment, feel free to raise your hand. It looks like Mr. Lupo made a comment in the chat about the announcement of the opening of a wellness center on Monday, April 10th. Mr. Lupo, did you want to say anything else?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for the time. This is really for two things. Yes, we are opening. I'm with Center for Community Alternatives. That's CCA. We're over here on 25 Chapel Street. First of all, I just want to thank this committee. If not for your support, we would not be able to have expanded. And really what we've had, Center for Community Alternatives, CCA, is a justice reform organization, but we also work in behavioral health services. And through our outpatient treatment programming and through your support and support of community members and other agencies, including Lincoln Ressler's office, who's been very supportive, we've been able to become a opioid treatment provider, which is extremely important now more than ever, with overdose deaths continuing to increase, not just in New York City, but all over New York State. But the most important part of that is we've been doing outpatient treatment for decades. We've mostly worked with people who are in some form of the justice system. Now we're working with anyone who might be interested in treatment at our center. And in particular, our wellness center is open. People are welcome to come to our office at 25 Chapel just to check it out. I'll put the address there. But most importantly, what we're going to be doing is on Monday, April 10th, we are going to be dispensing and utilizing methadone maintenance treatment. We're going to be the first center in Brooklyn that offers methadone maintenance treatment along with other wraparound services as well. From my understanding, this does not exist in Brooklyn and is only starting to pop up across other places in the country. There are other methadone sites, but we're going to be the first one that also offers things like anger management counseling, housing, reentry, housing referrals. We don't do housing directly, but mental health connections. We have a whole integrated clinic, wellness center. And, thanks so much for giving me the time to talk about it. And I'm happy to, follow up accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you. We're really grateful to hear from you. And perhaps we can talk about having you present to our committee in the future. I think it would be great to keep you in the loop.
Hi, I'd just like to say congratulations. It's much needed. Most methadone programs that I know of, they just give methadone and not treatment. So I so thank you and congratulate you and wish you well.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate that. And that is the feedback that we've heard from people who use drugs and we're interested in methadone maintenance. We heard a lot of feedback that it's nice for them to get methadone or Suboxone from where they go. But we want to have the whole integrated experience at our center. And it's been working. There's definitely been some challenges, having to integrate into telehealth. We have actually someone right now from Yonkers who gets Suboxone from our physician just because he likes our counselors and he can do a lot of his programming through telehealth. But we do definitely need that face-to-face connection in this Brooklyn community. And we're very accessible. You guys are familiar with the district. So a majority of our participants will be coming from public transit and we are getting people from all over, not just Brooklyn. I think Jessica has a question.
I do. I have a quick question. Brandon, do you mind?
Not at all.
Go ahead.
Okay. So Mr. Lupo, thank you. And I just echo congratulations. Thank you for bringing this to the community. If we do have you back to give a fuller presentation, I'd love if you could touch on at that point, how I understand there are changes to the telehealth law, and I'm curious if that will affect your services. And I'm coming from a place of lack of information here. It's something my psychiatrist mentioned to me, that it is like changing and becoming more complicated. I see her over telehealth. So if you are to come back, I'd love to just hear if there's a way we can be supportive around that particular issue too.
Absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate that. That's definitely a good question. And the answer to it is it's complex and it would probably require more of a presentation. But we're seeing a lot of new things with telehealth. And what I will say is, from my understanding is we have no plans to change our service delivery model with the expectation that people who come in for methadone maintenance, that's probably going to be a daily or multiple times a week thing. With our location, the hours will be dispensing Monday through Saturday with an early closure on Saturday.
Great. Thank you.
I'd like later if you could come, because I'm personally interested in the response of the clients who are in methadone maintenance to mental health counseling.
Yeah.
I used to work for was a consultant for ARTC, which is down in the building that I believe you're in or close by.
Mm-hmm.
So I have some knowledge about methadone and substance abuse.
That's excellent. I'm actually putting my email address in the chat now, so please do reach out to me. That way I can respond to your inquiries.
Sure will. Thank you.
And I really appreciate, anytime I can come and present. We definitely have a PowerPoint. We're very excited about working out of this community. So thank you so much again for the time.
Great, thank you. Anyone else have an item for community forum, members of the community? All right, at this time, I will be happy to entertain a motion to adjourn if there is one. Does anyone want to make such a motion?
I make a motion.
Motion from Mr. Andrews, second from Ms. Cobb. Does anybody abstain or oppose adjourning at this point? It seems like nobody does. Let's all have a great night. And thanks everybody who put the time in to come to tonight's meeting.
Enjoy your dinner, Jessica, whatever's left of it.
Yes, that's right.
Thank you.